I mean, I start off with a quite a specific plan for what I want to do, and then I sort of within that plan of that scene, then I like the actors to say things in their own words. But then I will feed in certain phrases. I mean, there's a sort of key phrase that comes up a couple of times, which I use a lot myself actually, which is "I can't bear it." So there were certain phrases that are sort of fed in, because actually I don't really want an improvised feel as such, because I'm interested in quite a sort of precise result, but at the same time I want the performances to be very naturalistic. Ed Rutherford is a really wonderful cinematographer, and this is his first film actually. Unfortunately he's not here tonight because he'd be able to answer that very well, but he did actually surprisingly use a bit of light. I didn't want it to be too, I wanted the crew to be very sort of lightweight, so we didn't have that many people. We had 3 people on camera, but he's very clever at doing light very quickly and very discreetly. So, because I quite like to keep a momentum going, I don't like lots of time for lighting, but he was very clever. Yes, I think there's something I like about characters being away from home and being in a place that they're just visiting or that they're just temporarily in. And I think tensions come up in those situations when people are away from home. But yes, I don't think I'm always going to be interested in that. I think the next thing I'm planning is actually going to be at home or at the home of the characters. Yes, I do think there's something that comes out of those situations that is interesting.
I don't know if anyone's, how many people in here have seen Unrelated, but I play in Unrelated a very sort of confident, possibly emptily confident, arrogant, flirtatious, devil-may-care, kind of late teenager who's sort of very aware of his sexuality. He's very aware of what he's got, and knowingly or unknowingly, consciously, he sort of reels in an older woman into a romance, which then he doesn't deliver on. And this is entirely different, I hope. I owe a lot of my characterization to Joanna, who wanted to explore the idea of somebody who is intrinsically good, who believes he is bad, or has an inclination towards compassion for other people's problems before his own, and inhabiting. So if Oakley in Unrelated is thrusting into the world with a kind of fireball of young masculine energy, Edward is much more doubtful, much more curious, much more vulnerable, is living in the question all the time, is constantly thinking, what is the best use of my time on this planet? And I hope you can pick up that he's been working in a bank, a big investment bank, and in his late 20s, he's giving up that career in banking, whether it's as a result of the financial meltdown or not, or whether he's just bad at banking, he's not right for that world, and he's trying to find a way through the world in a way that makes sense to him, and this volunteer work is something that appeals. But in a way, this was very different, because in Unrelated, I was enormously active. I was always driving a scene, or kind of I was the primary, at least one of the primary energies in a scene. And in this one, Joanna encouraged me to be very, very passive, so that in a way, Kate and Christopher, Kate Fahey, Christopher Baker, Amy Lloyd, and Lydia Leonard are the stars that are orbiting around me, and my instincts had to be told to shut up and sit still most of the time. Because I, as you've just found out, tend to talk a lot.
It's something I like for the moment. I may change and start moving the camera around, but there's something I like about containing everything in a frame and then letting the sort of energy and the movement happen within it. And I think, yeah, holding a frame for a certain length of time allows you to sort of get, as the audience, I hope anyway, sort of immerse yourself in that frame and explore it and become very intimate with it, despite it seeming like a sort of distancing thing. I hope it actually, in a way, makes you lean forward or further forward into the film.
It's really interesting as an actor as well, because you're so used to having, one is so used to having one's work in, seeing one's work in close up, and it's constant. You know, the vogue at the moment is and I'm saying it's neither a good or a bad thing, but it's lots of cuts, very quick. The camera's moving all the time. The movement of the camera is telling you the story. And I can say this to Joanna can't because she's too modest, but I think the stillness of the camera and the length of the take almost objectifies the action in a way that you can see it more cleanly, in a sense. And there's quite a few. You think you're doing something, and then you know, months down the line, I sit and watch the film for the first time, and I didn't realize that's what's really going on in the space between where the characters are standing or sitting, in a way, which you don't necessarily get in close up, I think.